All right, sports fans, it's time for another edition of the Sports Couch, a look at area sports through the eyes of a local athlete, coach, or superfan. The Sports Couch is made possible by People's National Bank, a full-service bank with multiple locations throughout Southern Illinois to serve you. People's National Bank, member FDIC, and an equal housing lender. And made possible by Mt Vernon Title Company, your real estate closing professionals. When you need real estate closings, title searches, contract for deed, or any other legal real estate document, depend upon Mt Vernon Title Company. Who will be on the couch this morning? Let's find out. During Week 5 of the high school football season, Rams again were at home at Ken Hunt Stadium, and they hosted the Belleville Althoff Crusaders. And those of you who follow high school football, you know that Belleville Althoff Crusaders played in the state championship game last year. And even though they graduated a ton of guys off that team a year ago, including one of the best rushers in the nation, it's still Belleville Althoff. And they came into to Mt Vernon ready to do some battle. And the Rams played well, and they did some things right, and when they got behind late in the game, they found a little extra something to reach down deep and pull out a 29-28 victory, something they hadn't been able to do in recent weeks. Coach Dan Mings is with us to talk about it, and Coach, you had to be really, really happy with the win, no matter who it was against, and beating Belleville Althoff is always a plus, isn't it?
Well, it is to me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they came in ranked third in the state. Now, granted, that was Class 3A, and there's a difference between a 3A program and a 5A program.
Right.
You know, there is a difference, and but they came in and we knew why they were good. You know, they had so many athletes, and like we said before, the quarterback, he's got like 5 D1 offers already. You know, and we held them in check enough to get the win, and we played turnover-free football. And defensively, we played our best game of the year, as far as running and hitting people and doing some things that you got to do on the defensive side. So we were obviously tickled with the outcome, and like I say, anytime that you get to beat those guys, it's a good day.
Well, speaking of turnovers, you caused a big turnover on them, recovering a fumble against the Crusaders. So anytime you can create turnovers, too, that's a plus.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the first time all year we've been on the plus side of that turnover differential, and, that's how you get a win. I mean, that's just the way, I think we actually tied Carbondale in turnovers, and that was pretty close to a tie football game as well. But, yeah, I mean, we won the turnover differential and played really solid and played hard. We've just played so hard. And the trick now is, can you do 2 in a row? Can you play hard 2 weeks in a row?
Offensively, you had a guy rush for over 100 yards. Your quarterback also threw for over 100 yards. So, again, you were effective offensively both on the ground and in the air. And you now go into Week 6 with a record of 2-3, which is quite different than 1-4. So I'm sure the mindset's a little different this week in practice.
It's a lot different than 1-4. I mean, it really is. And, I just afraid we're going to look back at that Collinsville game and kick ourselves in the tail a little bit because, it'd be a lot better sitting here at 3-2.
Yeah.
But, we're where we are. Because we just didn't play well enough to win a football game, but 2-3 is it gives us a chance. I mean, with our upcoming schedule, I mean, there's no, got Centralia, Cahokia, and Tolono Unity coming up. So, I mean, those programs are all outstanding programs. So we know what the road is ahead, but it really does beat the alternative.
Yeah. The Cahokia Comanches, that's one team that can match you on speed. Not too many teams can do that with speed, but they've got it. Talk a little bit about them.
Well, they're loaded with the capital loaded. I mean, honestly, you're going to see the best freshman in the conference maybe in the past 25, 30 years.
Wow.
I mean, he's a different position than Jason Ford was. But he is dynamic in almost every way. I think he's touched the ball 5 times on offense, scored 3. He's got 5 interceptions. He's got 3 kickoff returns for touchdowns, and this kid's a freshman. He's 6'2", 190 pounds, and he's just a special kid. Their quarterback is legit. Their defensive end, tight end guy is a game changer. So, and those are just 3. They've got 15. They are loaded athletically, and I think that as far as speed goes, we do have speed. We actually do have speed. It's just going to come down to us being able to limit their big plays and keep them from getting turnovers. I mean, that's what it's going to come down to. We can't give up any 60-yard touchdown bombs, and, 1 out of every 5 plays that they throw is a 60-yard bomb.
Yeah.
Regardless of what coverage you're in, they don't care. They think they're fast enough to get behind everybody, and they do that. So, I mean, that's what they did to Marion. That's what they've done all year, in their wins. So, they're very dynamic. And then when you think that you got them locked down, the quarterback takes off and runs. I mean, it's a pretty high mountain. It's not something that we can't climb, but we've got to make the choice to give everything that we possibly can do.
Big part of football, of course, happens on the line of scrimmage. What do their linemen look like to you?
They're big. I mean, it just comes down to, I don't know, where all these giant kids are coming from, but they've got more than their share of giant kids, and they're big up front, and then defensively they're so fast. They are literally so fast up front that they cause people problems with their athleticism.
Yeah. As I look out here and watch the guys practice this afternoon, it just seems to be a little bit more hop in their step today than it was a week ago. And again, I think that's the idea of coming off a win. They get a little bit more confidence.
Well, I hope so, and it may have had something to do with the rear end chewing I gave him yesterday too. So, but you had those two types of things together, and no, I mean, they're practicing well. But Mount Vernon kids always practice well. I mean, we can't come out ever really and say, hey, they didn't give us a great effort, or they didn't bust their tail, or they didn't do what we asked them to do. And that's never been the real question about what's happened this year. It's been physicality. Last week for the first time, our physicality showed of what we're capable of doing. Had we started the season off that way, this whole thing's different. But sometimes it takes a younger team to pick up what they need to pick up and learn how to play at a 5A level, or higher. I mean, it's something that we finally did, and hopefully they don't forget that feeling, and just their great effort's all we're looking for.
It kind of goes back to what we talked about in week 1, and that is you do have to play this game of football with emotion. You have to.
It must be done. This is not something you can walk out and play. You've got to reach down deep on every single play, and we talked last week with our skill people. They get all the sort of press. It's like, how would you like it if for 4 months you had to fight somebody every single down, every practice, and then every game you had to physically fight someone? That's what our linemen have to do. It is a physical fight.
Sure.
Every down, all year long, and the same thing in the summer. So, and I told the lineman, how would you like to be that skill kid back there without getting that key block and somebody blindsiding you? And it all has to come together. Everybody's got to work their butts off and play together, and it's an emotional game, but it is an intense game, and it must be played with emotional aggression and insane intensity.
Yeah, everybody's got to buy in. It's got to be a team effort for sure. Coach, as always, we appreciate the visit, and good luck this week.
I appreciate it, Randy. Thank you.